there's just this idea, if you go buy a new car, they tell you how much it's going to cost. You can configure some things. You generally know when it's going to be delivered.
Mm-hmm.
You generally know how many miles per gallon it gives.
Yep. You know how much it's going to cost to maintain at least
it.
in theory. Yep.
Yet if you spend $1 billion on a building, you know none of these things.
Mm.
Welcome to the Power of Construction. I'm Sasha Reed.
And I'm Chris Langiza.
And our guest today is KP Reddy. KP, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. We're very excited to have you here in our studio in Austin. Now, you two have met previously, correct?
Yeah, we've crossed paths a few times. Yeah.
Okay, I think this is the first time we've actually had
Absolutely,
a chance to meet in person. And I know for a fact we've been in the same room at a conference and thought, okay, let's just get together, and it just never happened.
Yeah.
So we're excited to have you.
That's great to be here.
You've been on the road recently. Have you been quite busy?
We're always on the road.
Yeah.
If only everything happened in your backyard, it'd be great. But
yeah,
it's just not how it works.
Yeah.
When you move to a place where a lot of the stuff does happen in your backyard.
Right.
Now,
I did move near Silicon Valley to be a little bit closer to what's happening. But yeah, still every once in a while.
Getting on that plane. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, we know that well. Well, for those who may not be familiar with you, I did want to read a little bit about some of the work that you've been doing. You're the founder and CEO of Shadow Ventures. You have a background in civil engineering from Georgia Institute of Technology. And you're also a global authority on AI, robotics, automation, mobile applications, as well as cloud computing. And you've also founded and exited 3 companies, which includes your work leading enterprise transformation at Gary Technologies, general manager of Advanced Technology Development Center, or ATDC, at Georgia Tech, which happens to be, I think, one of the oldest incubators in the country.
It is.
You've also had a chance, and you've really become a fixture on the tech stage, if we can say that, and not just in construction, outside as well. So you've participated in South by Southwest, Tech Crunch Disrupt, great conference, love that one, NYC Building Congress, Foreign Direct Investment World Forum, as well as Autodesk University and Built Worlds. So this makes sense that you're constantly on the road with all these speaking sessions.
Sounds like Groundbreak's missing from that list. We're going to have to work on that moving into the future.
Who knows? Who knows after today? That could absolutely
I think I'll
happen.
have like an application form. So that's when I get stuck.
I might know a guy or a girl, so it's okay.
I'm used to people just calling me, hey, do you want to come talk?
It's a poll, not a push. Got it. And I don't want to leave this off because I think this is definitely mentionable. You've authored 3 different books.
Yeah.
I have one of them here, Creating the Intangible Enterprise. That is your most recent book, The Critical Skills Required to Thrive in an AE-Driven World. You've also written What You Know About Startups is Wrong, debunking 11 popular myths about what defines a top entrepreneur. And then your first book, which was BIM for Building Owners and Developers, The Definitive Guide to BIM, which is... I can see the connection point between each of these books, technology, entrepreneurship. Well, tell us a little bit about Shadow Ventures, the company, so we understand a little bit about your role, but what does the company do?
Yes, we're a classic venture capital firm. We make big bets on entrepreneurs. We play pre-seed and seed stage, mostly seed stage. So for those that don't know the vocabulary, seed stage means we have a pretty good idea for a product. We've built some of it. We probably don't have customers or revenues, and give us $2 million.
It's a good formula.
So it's an interesting dynamic in that you're trying to size up the people, you're trying to understand the sizing of the market, like if they're successful, how successful will they be? And that's why we're pretty thematic around the built environment. So anything construction tech, real estate, a little bit of real estate tech, but more I would say building operations management, and then things on the design side. What's pretty unique is we have about 60% of our investors, our LP base, the people that back us, are actually from the AEC and the building products industry.
Interesting.
So a lot of times when we're looking at a company, as you all know, this industry can be very nuanced.
Yep.
So we might look at something, and if we're pure play investors, we might get excited about it, which we do. And then we start socializing it with our investors. And they're like, well, here's what you don't know. Here's what you don't know. Here's how this works, or here's how that works. And sometimes it's not even technical. It's just nuanced parts of the industry, whether it's, well, the best market for this is this types of buildings. And oh, by the way, most of those trades are unionized and will have nothing to do with your fancy robot, right? So it's those things. So I feel like we have this massive team as an extension of our firm that really helps us vet and also originate. Like most of them, I would say the majority of them, we're the only venture firm they've ever invested in. Probably they ever will.
Yeah.
So when they get hit up by startups, they'll send them to us and say, hey, before we do anything with these folks, have you heard of them? Have you seen them? Can you spend some time with them? So we get a lot of deal flow from our investors. And then post-investment, the ones that they like, they become customers.
Interesting.
But it's been really interesting, the training dynamic of strategic investors. I've had to train them on this view that, like, we're an investor, so we get a better deal, right? And I'm like, actually, the opposite is true. You pay more than full price. And they're like, why would we do that? It's like, because you're an investor. Like, a couple bucks you save on spending money with the company is nothing compared to the revenue and how meaningful it is to the startup and your value there. And so it's a little bit of retraining.
Yes.
But I would say the bulk of our investors came to us because they felt like over the years they were early involved with some of these startups. And we don't have that many examples of companies that have become unicorns in under 5 years. There's zero, actually. So they have been in there for years helping them iterate the product. They never invested. They never got options. They never got anything. And then the company gets bought or goes public. And like, hey, why do we do all that? Like, what do we get out of that? And then after they get acquired, especially, they're like, great, now our license fees are higher. Thanks.
Math is not math.
Math is not math. So a lot of them have had that experience. And so they view this as a way to benefit from whatever help they're giving the startups.
That's exciting because that's definitely a missing piece. Especially as technology has really evolved into where it's such a big component of the business now, we really haven't had that translator, if you will, to understand the two different worlds. Well, we invited you here today because we really want to talk to you about the future state of construction. And specifically, we want to talk about data, technology, AI, and BIM. And since you've authored this book on BIM, there's absolutely an authority here. But we released Future State of Construction report recently, and we surveyed the industry. It was over 1,200 people across 8 different countries, represented across technology providers, owners, contractors, specialty contractors. And from our report, we learned that 77% of construction leaders that we surveyed said that BIM is very or extremely valuable to them in improving project outcomes. And 49% expect increased BIM use for collaboration and clash detection. So with that, we also stated Procore's point of view. What does Procore believe that the future state of construction will be? And we really focused on the future of design and the value of the field experience that won't be decreased or minimized, but actually be increased. We also think there's going to be a closer integration between construction and design. And that AI and machine learning is going to start to really automate some of those design tasks. So Chris and I have been pretty busy out promoting this, talking about it, post-release of the report, getting reactions to it. And we came across a LinkedIn article that you posted. And I swear to God, as soon as I read the headline, I slacked and messaged Chris, and I was like, you have got to see what KP Reddy just wrote.
I don't read all the things she sends me, but this one I did. It was perfect.
I piqued his interest enough for him to follow up. And the article is entitled, BIM is Dead. And piqued both of our interests. We went ahead and clicked the link and read further and listened further. but it just made us really curious to want to bring you on the show, especially knowing that you had authored the book back in 2011. What's changed? What is behind this declaration that BIM is dead?
So if I think, first of all, like I wrote the book 2011. I talked to several owners and did all the work that you do, especially in writing a textbook, which is what it is. And none of it has come true. Right. So the promises of BIM from 2011, we're going to design faster. We're not going to have RFIs. The model's going to be used for facilities management, digital twin, all these narratives. People still like to throw them around, but none of it's true. We do not have digital twins of anything. And so all those, so I kind of feel like my book is wrong, right? It's wrong. And so I think the biggest thing, and it'd be interesting with like the surveys and the conversations we're having, is timing, because where I've shifted my thinking, which I always say, like I'm always allowed to change my mind, is that with, BIM has really been, the biggest benefit of BIM has been 3D and visualization, because us mere humans don't know how to visualize things. So it has to be presented to us. And that's been the number one benefit. So if you talk to owners, do they actually understand the data? Do the contractors understand the data? Everybody talks about the data. It's about the I in BIM. Like we've heard all this nonsense. None of it has happened. None of it's come true. Nobody's using the data. They don't know what to do with it, quite honestly. And so there's no use case for the data other than talking about it. And so if you think about it, everything that we're using BIM for is about geometry. In order to do in order for us to do a fully coordinated building, go through clashes. One, why do we have clashes in the first place?
This is a really good question.
Right? I went to the Apple store and I'm like, hey, my phone's not working right. Like, oh, there's a clash between the battery and the lens. Let me fix it for you. This is like nonsense, right? So a lot of this stuff, like nobody wants to really fix it. What we've done is we've digitized old processes. Back in the day, they did drawings on vellum and held them to a light box. And so we've digitized the process without saying like, hey, this is wrong. Like, why do we do this way? So one, why do we have clashes? That makes no sense whatsoever. And really, BIM has been for us. So if you apply AI principles, AI doesn't need 3D. It's all math-oriented. It's coordinate systems. It doesn't need the visual. So we might have an output like, oh, here's your building, but all the in-between stages should be and will absolutely be handled by AI. There's no reason for it not to. The computational burden of what we go through to coordinate a building is trivial for AI. It's not hard. It's not a hard. It's all coordinate systems.
Well, and like you said, like why do we have clashes in the first place, right? Like this is something that I've said a long time, is it's math, right? There is a physical object. We know codes. We know design specifications. We know all these things. And computers are really good at math. So they should just be able to avoid the clashes in many big ways. So with that in mind, with BIM being dead and AI kind of taking over a lot of this computational need, what does the future of design look like in that world then? Like, in maybe if the eye does become more important, like who owns the data of the design and improving the next one potentially?
So I think there's a couple things, not to geek out, but if you think about,
I love nerdy stuff. This is a pretty nerdy podcast. It's okay.
So why do we do conceptual schematics, DDs, and versions of CDs? Like, why do we do that? And then we do shop drawings. None of that makes sense anymore. We did it because the incremental effort to put into it, and then and the change management for the owner to come back and say, oh, we need to move this. You didn't want to do a full set of shop drawings. And then the customer come back and say, I need you to move 3 things. The change management was too expensive. So the idea was, let me iterate through the process, start nailing things down for the customer. And then once we know we're not changing that anymore, we can keep moving and keep filling in the detail. Well, what that's essentially become, especially with BIM, is we actually have drawings that are not complete. There is no reason why AI can't take a concept and create shop drawings and motion control to a robot. And then if you change your mind, it doesn't matter. It takes a second, right? It's not, oh, we have to redraw everything. It's a lot of effort. And so I think when you look at that, that's where we are. It's just like a willingness for people to understand how to use these tools. It also starts to mess with contracts, which people... So one thing I would say, the alphabet soup of industry, AIA, ASCE, AGC, all of them, that's part of what's wrong. right? That these standards, master format's how old? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We're still working on that. Right. A lot of people are still working on 1995. So
so this idea that we're waiting on industry to come up with data schemas and different ways is problematic. The other thing is every project type is just a little bit different in terms of what's important. A data center and how you think about a data center is very different than how you think about a hospital. And so what happens even with BIM, right? IFC standards, that's nonsense. COBE, not sure what happened to that. Like there's all these there's these bodies that get created to say, let's go build these standards, and they never get completed. And by the time they maybe even near a completion, the world has changed. So you can't really operate with this idea of like, oh, we're waiting for standards. So we go back and we say, oh, AIA contract docs. Why? Why does that standardization exist? It doesn't matter. The role of the architect and engineer for the contractor, you start edging into design build. Like, why isn't it one group, right? And you don't even have to put, we do this thing where we have to say, oh, no, it has to be a new methodology. Well,
yeah, we need a new contract type to go do
contract
that.
Type, right? Yeah. So I think all of that, and if you think about the legal side of this, the ability to rewrite contracts, custom contracts, quickly with AI is going to be, it's already here, right? It's not that hard. So some of these things, so what happens to the designers? Well, the designers now get to focus on building unique product. It's very disheartening. We drive into just about any major city, and there's maybe one or two buildings that have character, that are interesting. I grew up in Atlanta. I feel like we have no interesting buildings. Nashville has the Batman building, right? Like, New York City does cool stuff with buildings, right? But generally, like the places that we're shaping society with, right? Schools, like why do schools have to be so boring? Why do they have to be so terrible, right? And so what happens is you start to see a lot of repetitive work, and these people that went to school to be designers and create unique buildings, you will see them over and over. In fact, like Austin, Atlanta, Houston, Nashville, the same exact condo has been built. Building has been built by the same developer and the same architect, right? And it's that brick and glass and, thing, right? So I think hopefully designers now spend more time being creative, understanding the custom needs and requirements, spend more time with the customers, the users. If you're building a school in a neighborhood, if you're not spending 1,000 hours in the neighborhood talking to the students, talking to the parents, how do you even begin to design a school for that neighborhood? Well, right now it's cut and paste.
Yeah, right? It's really interesting. You bring up this point of, hey, we can use the technology to actually let us spend more time on the things that would add a lot of value, right? Like unique experiences, unique buildings that would actually bring a whole community together potentially here. And I think that's where sometimes people get kind of scared of AI, but I'm like, no, this is great. Like, I don't want to do all this. I don't really want to do coordination. I did coordination for 14 years. It wasn't fun for me. It was just the job that I had to do in order to get the work done. And now we're saying, like, hey, let's let those people focus on the things that actually would bring more value to the neighborhood, to the project, to the owner at the end of the project, instead of just focusing on what they have to do because the contract says they have to, or the code, or the permit, or the municipality, name it that way. Which brings me to like a kind of a follow-up question on that is, let's talk about the owner for a second, because does the owner want these things? And you made a comment that really in construction, we've kind of been failing the owner, our true customer. At the end of the day, right? We build things for someone who owns them. Why is it? Why have we been failing them? Is it because we're not focusing on enough of these value add things? What is it that we've been failing them with?
I think there's a weird power dynamic. It's no similar that we have with, I'm pretty aggressive with my doctors, so I'm a bad example. I treat them like plumbers, which I think everyone should treat their doctors like plumbers. Like, what's your Yelp review? Like, I'm not going to pay you.
How many doctors have you been through?
I'm diabetic, so I go to a lot of doctors, but it's like, I'm not going to pay you till the work is complete, right? So, but if you think about the power dynamic between a patient and a doctor, they are your vendor. They're there to serve, but then they talk down to you. They treat you differently. They act like you're a dummy, right? And so a lot of it is for an owner that might build one building every 5 years, one building every 10 years, who knows what the frequency is. And they're working with the vendor community that does this every day. They have 300 active projects, 500 active projects. So the power dynamic is really strange in that the owners feel very beholden to the ecosystem of vendors to do what they tell them they're going to do. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to a lot of owners that believe the design teams and the contractors are a bit in cahoots. So our designer doesn't completely...
Clearly, they have not spent enough time to read with contractors and design teams. They will know that we're not in cahoots.
Well, we need a reality TV show to show.
Possibly, right? So our architect or engineer leaves something out on drawings, leads to an RFI, leads to a change order. The contractor brings a change over to the designer and they're like, oh yeah, we missed that. Approved.
Yeah.
There's no like, hey, owner, we messed up. We missed that design aspect. It's only until they push back on, as long as they keep allowing the change orders within the 20% contingency budget, everything's fine. It's only when you run out of contingency that you actually have to go ask the owner for more money is maybe where there's a lot more pushback. So there's a little bit of cahoots going on, which is one of those unpopular things to say out loud.
Yeah, I have a feeling that this audience are going to be a little bit of armchair quarterbacking here as they're listening to us. But one of the things that I think you really noted in that the owner is, this idea of the owner first has really become your North Star. And so one of the things that you noted was that you wanted a space for owners to kind of be able to come together. Tell us a little bit about the Owners Forum and what brought that about and what are you accomplishing actually with these?
Yeah, I started having this conversation with owners because I started digging into this and then we started getting together and then we're like, oh, we should like try to organize this a bit. So we kind of got it together and now it's called the Integrated Owners Forum. So we get together in person once a quarter. And it's interesting. We talk about different topics that are on their mind. We're actually launching a pitch, call it a demo day, but it's for AEC firms. So one of the things we learned is these owners don't know the cool things that some AEC firms are doing. Because once they get into a procurement cycle, RFPs, et cetera, they don't have space to give anyone an advantage in the pricing or the, So we've said, like, how about we have AEC firms pitch owners what they're doing with innovation and in a procurement cycle. Yeah. And maybe they're taking a best practice that a contractor is using to build hospitals and they apply it to industrial, like whatever it is. And so we think we need to open up the collaboration. We talk about collaboration a lot, but the owners are really on an island. And so there was that. And then there's just this idea, if you go buy a new car, they tell you how much it's going to cost. You can configure some things. You generally know when it's going to be delivered. You generally know how many miles per gallon it gives.
Yep. You know how much it's going to cost to maintain at least in theory. Yep.
Yet if you spend $1 billion on a building, you know none of these things. In fact, you're getting something designed and built without having any idea what your operating costs are. It's pretty amazing, right, in this day and age. So I think the owners are getting more sophisticated. They want to understand these things more. And quite honestly, they're trying to get more efficiency on the buildings that they build and procure.
And I understand, are you working with some researchers along with this? Is there an outcome that you're looking to drive from this?
Not yet. We're trying not to be, we hired 5 researchers that are from the industry to spend time with them. So we're not doing quantitative research really. Okay. It's more like, spend 45 minutes on a call with me. Let me review things. Let me understand what's going on. A lot of the owners, they understand the problems. They actually don't know how to communicate the problems, right? Just because no one's ever asked.
Yeah.
Right. Like when we ask, what could have been better on your last project? Oh, it'd been nice if it was on schedule and under budget. I'm like, okay, yes, you and everyone, like everyone else, right? Like that's not new news, right? But let's talk about, we ask a simple thing. What about your customer experience? 0% of owners have been asked them about their buying experience. Never been asked. So it's pretty amazing. Like they've never been asked, hey, how can I improve your buying experience? And maybe it's the vocabulary. What they've been told by these AEC firms is like, no, this is how it works. You draft an RFP, we respond to it. You shortlist 3, we come and present. Like it's like, but that's not what I want. But that's what we've been told how it works.
What's crazy is not what we want as contractors either, because we're like, oh, this process sucks. It's just a dog and pony. We already know who's going to get the job. Like, so why is there such a disconnect here of like, I think it's why we can't break it?
It's just this, like, this is the way we've always done it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You know, I agree with you. I mean, we have some, you know, everybody wants to like, you know, give the contract. I've done some amazing contractors. Many of them are LPs of mine. They're great. They actually do want to do great work. They don't know how to like have that audience with them. They've told me, hey, we invent some new technology to do something. The owner's like, no, like respond in the bid. Fill out this form. Right.
No,
so
sorry, we don't like your innovations. We don't care if you can finish faster because it's not fair.
Right. We've been studying things like prefab. Like, why can't prefab be a SKU? Why can't it be designed just like you design a curtain wall system or anything else? And then we find out, well, you know, the designers don't really want to worry about how things are built. And so what I've seen is like, we started off with the master builder, for those of you that want to Google master builder or chat it or whatever. But we started with the master builder. Master builder got fragmented into different disciplines due to complexity. And then as buildings got more complex, it got even more distributed. So now, you know, you have a low lighting consultant, a high voltage consultant, you know, you have 100 consultants on a single project. And so we've created all these tiny silos. So now if you think about it, you say, well, can't AI pull that back together and have more of a master builder where it's much more integrated? It was interesting when we tried to create, like, what name do we want to put on this owners forum? It was really tough, right? And we're like, okay, integrated, right? Because this is about everyone, including the owner, being fully integrated, not just the owner coming in as an afterthought.
And so one of the things that I think you're talking about here, which flows nicely to the role leaders take, because you're talking about seismic shifts in how each of these parties see themselves, how they view what they view their role as, how they get their work done. One of the things that we uncovered in the Future State of Construction report was around the culture of construction, and that the culture really needs to evolve. Procore's point of view on this is that we believe that the future leaders of construction will be diverse. They're going to be tech-savvy individuals. The workforce will be digital natives. They'll be digitally literate. We believe that there'll be flexibility on well-being as well as flexible schedules. So a lot of the things that you're talking about here require a new way of working. And some of the survey responses we received is that 65% of construction professionals that we surveyed said the adoption of new technology has a high or very high influence on the company's culture as well as their resilience to risk. So a lot of this that you're talking about means the business needs to operate differently. And you've done something in your work called, I want to make sure I call this right, dial innovation. And you've shared that while a lot of companies talk about having a culture of innovation, what you're seeing is that they're missing the concrete theory of change. What do you mean by that?
It means that, like even saying the word culture, right? Like, oh, we need to have the right culture. They say the words, they don't know what that is. They read the book or whatever, right? So a lot of it is actually giving people tangible things. So we run these assessments that are informed by my years of my experience and data from other firms to say, like, here's the 6 areas that matter when it comes to innovation. And let's dig into each of these and let's assess not just the company, but we send these surveys out. It could be to 1,000 people in a 2,000 person company. And it's amazing when the data comes back that the board or the CEO is like, well, that's not true. Our culture is not like that. And it's like, yes, maybe your direct reports make you feel differently than what the rank and file are actually feeling, right?
Yes.
And so there's some of that gets unveiled. You know, always being a third party always helps, you know, just from a vantage point. But the dial assessments really meant for firms to understand that if you want to be more innovative, you can't do everything. Like, they come to me, they say, hey, we want to invest in your venture fund because all the innovative firms are doing that. I'm like, you're not ready for that. Like, you're not ready. You need to go work on these 3 other things first. Culture has been a consistent, tough one. I just did article and a podcast on Gen Z, right? This idea that, you're talking about like, oh, we need to keep hiring these young folks. We need to be able to keep them.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is they're not about money. It's not about money. It's really about autonomy. It's about meritocracy. The biggest takeaway I have for Gen Z, for anyone that's trying to hire Gen Z, this is a generation that grew up on leaderboards, playing video games, and you didn't get to be the owner's kid or grandkid to get to the top of the leaderboard. Right. You had to earn it. Now you could try to find some cheat codes, but everyone could find cheat codes, right? To get to the top of the leaderboard.
Are they a cheat code anymore when they're posted on the internet when everybody has them?
Right, when everybody has them.
Now you're just irresponsible and not using them.
Right, it's like, oh, there's a subreddit. Right, like
yes,
right.
Exactly.
So, but you have to actually know that there's a subreddit. Like so the point is like this is a generation that really I see they care about meritocracy, and meritocracy does not mean, well, after 5 years of being an engineer, then we're going to promote you. After being here for 20 years, you get to be an equity owner in the construction firm. Those are not meritocracy things. Those are longevity. Like I withstood it, and I always question if someone's been at a company for 20 years, somebody's in the wrong. Either that person lost ambition or the company lost ambition. There's no reason why anyone would stay at a firm for 20 years, right? And so these are the type of things that they really, I think, and I've really boiled it down to meritocracy. I think that's what they want to hear. They don't want to hear that so-and-so is related to so-and-so. That's how they got their internship. They don't want to hear any of that. They want to come in and back to the diverse workforce.
Right.
Yep. That's one of our challenges. Is like it has to be about meritocracy.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And there's something that you talk about too in the book that I really want to pull out here is this idea of monoliths versus intangibles. What do you mean by that, and how do you explain the difference between the two?
So what we've done in business, we have KPIs, right? We have a lot of public companies, private equity companies. We're all very metric driven, and we're living and dying by these KPIs and metrics. And what it does is it creates an optimization. Like, I always joke around. I talk to these engineering groups and architecture firms. I'm like, so you went to college for that many years to be really good at filling out timesheets. and then
it's
when
sad, but it's true.
And then when you move up in the organization, you get really good at reviewing timesheets. Fantastic, right? Like you learned that in engineering when you're doing your master's degree in computational fluid dynamics. You learned about timesheets, right? So it's an interesting dynamic of what we went to school for, what we envisioned in our career. And so we've just become very, very focused on the mathing of the business. Well, you bring in AI, and now you're putting on hyperdrive. Now you're starting to say like, oh, this process, because we've processed everything, I can run AI on that. I don't need that person anymore. And so what that does, it means that in the near term, you're going to see great profitability. You're going to see great margin expansion. But in the long term, you're just going to become a value stock. And we saw this with, I give a lot of case studies, like with GE. At one point, GE was the company. Everyone wanted to work at GE. Every CEO that got hired out of GE was like, where are all those people now? Where's GE now? And they were great at optimizing a business, but they struggled to grow after that because growth requires risk and creativity and things that are highly intangible. And so when you segue to the intangible companies, it's about brand, it's about ethos, it's about mission, it's about culture. Because AI is going to allow the work to get done. It's going to be about everything else. And that's where our industry really struggles a little bit. When you talk to a construction company about brand, we have a marketing person. We have a new logo. That is not brand. Okay, like stop it. Or ethos, right? Oh, you're family oriented. Yeah. Core value systems. Trustworthy, integrity. Oh, you mean those companies that are not trustworthy? And like, who does not have value systems that are not trustworthy? Those are all like, you don't have to put them on a wall. So I think that's the new struggle for our industry. I think it's these things like how do I become the company that gets hired not because of price, because it makes people feel good. I feel like doing business with them, right? The iPhone is not the best phone. But it makes us feel good, right? Like we feel good opening it up, all of it, right? The whole experience is a feel-good experience, and that's why we buy it. It's not necessarily technically the best.
Yeah. Well, it takes you right back to what you were saying earlier, right? It's about how are we focusing on that customer experience? How are we focusing on the employee experience, right? And all these opportunities to like, so that everybody that you engage with, makes you feel better about the end product you're going to get because, we've really thought about, hey, how do we improve this for the community, for the project, for the team, and everyone kind of in between. It's just really interesting how it comes full circle.
And answering why. I was out with this contractor and he said, I hired my nephew this summer. I brought him to a job site. I gave him a shovel. I told him to clean up after the trucks as they came in and out of the job site. Make sure that all the mud was clean.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, so he went home and said, oh, my God, this job is amazing, right? And now you wonder why your nephew's not working there anymore. And you're wondering why you can't recruit anyone. Like, there's a little bit, like, to your point, the employee experience isn't just like, here's a shovel, kid. Pay your dues.
Well, and you can see the intangibles show up in some of the contractors and some of the design firms out there because they definitely separate themselves. When you look at it, there's a brand there. There is, hey, well, we like working with them because of this thing, right? And probably because they're not making everybody come in and shovel the dirt or sweep the deck, or you have to do submittals that way because that's the way that I did them when I grew up, right? Like there's plenty of that.
And then the worst part is when these people ask why, they don't really have a good answer. And like I think this is also a generation that knows how to call BS on people. It's like, you just made up that answer. That's not a real
Yep.
So KP, when we were preparing, right, one of the things that you talked about is this theory of creative destruction, right? The idea that innovations wipe out old business models. And I mean, everybody's talking about AI right now, and you say it's less about the tools and more about the business model transformation. So what kind of strategic changes are you expecting to see in our industry because of what AI has shown up to do over the last 6 months?
Yeah, so I think GCs that typically did not self-perform may start to self-perform. If they can do estimates and manage the work using AI and robots. For example, we have a company called Okibo that's a robotic drywall finisher. If being a drywall sub means I just buy pieces of equipment, then why do I need a sub? So what you're going to see is like an integration where people start to play in each other's fields, right? If a contractor can be design build by hiring one registered architect
and using AI
to draw the drawings, why wouldn't they do design build?
Yep.
Right. So I think what you're going to start seeing is this movement in motion where some of these silos get broken down. I'm seeing it with some subs now saying like, well, the bulk of the work in a data center is mechanical systems. I should be the GC. Like, why would I be the sub? I can be the GC. 80% of the building is my work. Why am I the sub?
I can do some light shell work. It's all prefabbed anyways.
Right, like exactly, right? So, and I think between the technology, between robotics and AI and being able to really quickly skill themselves, I think, and you're seeing it, there's several large GCs that are now in the business model of creating their own self-perform subs because they're leveraging technology.
Well, and I think this is something that some of us have talked about for quite some time, which is this idea that, the traditional GC model is pretty broken. And like you have to bring more value, and whether that's taking on self-perform, whether that's taking on design, whether that's taking on service and maintenance afterwards. Like I've seen a lot of these shifts starting to happen in that world that's, kind of centering us back around this idea of like, we're going to become more master builders again, right? We're going to bring a lot more of these skills together because, well, one, we'll be able to use AI as long as we can get our hands on the data, and we won't need as many people to do it. And so it unblocks us from a lot of the risk that traditionally was there for us to even take on these endeavors if we were going to go do those things.
And we've seen it. We've seen contractors go into the development business. We've seen architects go into the development business. We've seen developers go into the contractor business, right? We've seen all of this. But I think it's all been very difficult because they have a core business model. But I think with AI, they're able to like kind of optimize to these new business models and try different things out. I think the other thing is on the maintenance and operations. My 24-year-old son says, like, why can't we buy buildings like we buy cars?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're right.
And let's talk about that for 1 second too, is like, How do you think the buildings and the projects that we build are going to evolve with AI and maybe even robotics and some of those things
In
in
a
the future?
big way. I mean, we're designing buildings right now with the idea that only humans will occupy them. We know whether it's 2 years, 3 years, my prediction is 5 years, you will have robots in every building. So are we designing buildings for both humans and robots to coexist? And you're going to see it in hospitals. You're seeing it in industrial. I think industrial kind of has it under control.
Yeah.
But how we think about space and use for people and robots to exist, and some of it's like core infrastructure, like charging, space, things like that. But even just, what kind of experience?
I was thinking about this morning a little bit. 'Cause I'm staying in a hotel, right? And they've got some of those robots that are just like running stuff up to rooms and things like that.
Right.
But they're all dependent on me walking up and pushing the button for them to get in the elevator. Like,
Right.
when are we going to build a special elevator just for the robots?
Right.
Like, those are kind of things that are going to happen, right?
Right,
They're
right.
just a question of when they're actually going to happen. And I think in some respects, I'm actually listening to a book right now. I'll flub it. I'll put it in the notes on the name of it, but it's all about kind of like future thinking. And one of the concepts is like some of these things that you almost like don't want to be true, these like dystopian futures. You have to think about that too, because like nobody in construction, I think, wants to believe that a construction job site is going to be 100% robots. But if we don't go through the thought exercise of what that future could actually look like, how do we actually shape it to what we want it to be? If that's the thing. And so like, it's this idea of like challenging ourselves to think about things that are possible, right? And maybe even somewhat plausible. But we have to be able to then guide that ship towards the future that we actually want to have versus maybe what is just going to come and run over us.
Yeah, my strategy's been, I wake up every day saying, buildings will be designed by AI and built by robots in the next 5 years. Prove me wrong. And that's how my entire team thinks, right? Prove me wrong. Show me a reason why it can't happen. And on any given day, we're getting more signal that it's more possible than less possible. In fact, we're now starting to get feedback loop from robots that build back to designers to say, if you change your design this way, a robot can build 100% of it. Like right now, if they design without robots in mind, maybe the robot can only do 60% of the building.
Yeah.
But if you can run it through the robotic simulator and give them feedback and say, move this door, move this, move that, and now a robot can build, the entire thing can be built by a robot. So I think we're going to move more into kind of a design for manufacturer methodology, where I think designers are not going to design the full thing. AI will take a concept drawing, push it to shop drawings automatically, and then push it to whatever machine's going to actually build it.
And what you're discussing is what we have started to see some innovation on, which is prevention through design, and this relationship between the laborer in the field informing the designer of what it actually takes physically for them to put this work in place in the field. And Arizona State University has been doing some research on that. NIOSH and CPWR and some other groups have been spearheading this research. I think it's going to be a shame if it skips the human element altogether and goes straight to robots when it would have just taken a conversation for us. But this brings up the last question I wanted to ask you. You have a quote in your second book. I'll quote it for you. I'm not expecting you to remember. Your real job is to be an artist whose greatest creation is your own life. And I think that's a great summary of what we're talking about here, is how the integration of these different parties coming together is truly what that future of construction is going to look like. But if we're going to talk about a world where AI takes over 80% of the work, maybe the designer communicating directly to the robot, what's our legacy? And how do you see the industry having to maybe rethink what that human experience and expertise is?
No, look, I think in my last book, I actually talk about when did job descriptions turn into requirements for robots? We never ask any questions about the human. So I think with all of this stuff, there's more space to be human. You're not being hired for a task, must type this many words per minute, whatever it is, right?
Right.
And so I think it's going to give us all a lot of autonomy to do what we love and be very productive and it be lucrative. I think that's one of the things. Every one of our jobs has what I call the salt mine work. it's the timesheets, it's the doing the details.
It's the PPPs. I knew I could get a chuckle out of that one.
It's all those things, right? That's not why we want to work. That's not why we showed up to work.
Yep.
And I think that's where I think when we take about these salt mine tasks that we all are forced to do, it's like, well, it's part of the job. I think AI can take a lot of that away so that we can actually kind of carve our own career in whatever way we want to. And I think it's important. I think that's where everything is going. I think if you want to talk about Gen Z and beyond, like they just don't want to suffer. And I think that's like okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that why we worked hard?
Right. A little bit, right? A little bit, right? They want to do what they love to do and make good money doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that, right? I just think they're finding better pathways to actually execute on it, right? If we get out of their way.
Yeah. That's great. Well, with that in mind, like you said, within the next 5 years, you expect to see robots, building large portions of buildings. Like, is that the timeline? And like, what timeline do you think, maybe some of the AI stuff is on? Is it 5 years? I mean, I can't imagine it's 10 or 20 based on what you said.
So the thing to remember, I used to have a robotics company 13 years ago. I was talking to my old CTO. He said, what took us 2 months to code takes 2 hours to code now. So where AI is really affecting everything is the ability to generate code, whether that's code for software or code for a machine. And so it's all just moving so quickly. And you're taking these development tools and putting them in the hands of people that know what they're doing. Like you might say, hey, drywall dude with 20 years of experience,
go build
go build code, right? You're not going to have to explain it to someone. So you're seeing that. And then we're seeing it within the enterprise is just like spreadsheets are this rogue effect of IT. Now, I think you're going to see in the next 5 years, same thing with software. People are just going to build their own little, like, oh, I need to build something for this project. I need to build a punch list tool for this specific project. I don't like what we're using. So I'm just going to build it. And they're just going to build it, use it, and throw it away. Or they might reuse it on the next job. So I really think software is going to start looking more like how we treat spreadsheets, where everybody's going to have their own unique version. So when you see all the low-code, no-code stuff, just how quickly it's being adopted, I think that's just going to be a path to a lot of innovation as well.
Do you think we get in a challenge with the data, like in it just being everywhere? Because that's the challenge with spreadsheets today, right? Everybody has them, throws them away, and they just sit, and you don't have any historical information.
That's IT's challenge, right? I mean, IT's challenge is going to be, how do you put some guardrails? I mean, if you shut it down, that's the wrong idea too.
Yep.
I think if you can put the right guardrails around it, and you start building data lakes where everything's dumping into a data lake and you can analyze it, I think it's easier said than done, but especially for existing organizations. That's why one of the biggest things I'm excited about with AI and robotics is for our industry, the idea of entrepreneurship. Like you go work for a company that's been 200 years old, and you're like, I could never start this company. Like, what are you talking about, right? But now, can I start my own drywall company because I've leased a fleet of drywall robots?
This is a whole new episode because there was a previous episode where we talked about something along this nature. If you look at a lot of the really innovative, like great culture companies, a lot of them were started in the last 15 to 20 years, and it's because somebody got frustrated and was like, oh man, I've been working in this company. It's 200 years old. I don't have the right last name. I'm never going anywhere. I'm going to go start my own thing. And I think you're right. I think the technology, the opportunity, the ability to move fast is going to create new business opportunities that people will be able to jump on. And then the real question is going to become capital, right? And that's going to be a fun game.
That's the easiest part. That's easy. Money's the easiest part.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's ideas and people with the conviction to go execute on them is the hardest one. There's a lot of people that have ideas. There's a lot of people that have conviction.
They're not always the same
people. The people that have both are very rare.
Love it. Well, we're at that point where we ask you some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
All right. So first question is, what book do you recommend that you're either recently read or are reading right now?
Abundance by Peter Diamandis.
Yep.
It's a great book. I recommend it to all teenagers, innovation people, just because this word innovation is very hard for people to comprehend, and he does a very good job of kind of outlining how you should think about it.
Awesome.
And it's an easy read.
What's your go-to source for gaining a different or informed perspective?
My kids and their friends.
Love it. We hear people a lot, but not my kids and my friends. I like that one. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Start fighting the good fight earlier. Conformity is not your friend. And it's interesting is when you're younger, you have to make less excuses for being nonconformist.
Yeah.
Later in life, you have to
because there's an expectation.
Yeah, there's expectations, But I think when you're younger, do everything but conform.
Okay. What's one trend or innovation you think will shape the future of construction?
I think computer vision, in terms of a subset of AI, I think computer vision is getting better and better and easier to deploy. And we have cameras on everything. We have cameras on everything. So cameras are the IoT, right? It's the sensor.
Yeah.
And your ability to build whatever you want. Went back to the, it's easy to write software. It's easier to write software now. To be able to build computer vision things, I think is, get $20 cameras out there.
Yeah. And more people will be wearing them on them too. If construction had a tagline, what would it be?
So as much as I'm tough on construction and the entire industry, this is the one less industry that builds things of permanence. We throw away our iPhones in 3 years. We throw away, this entire studio will be gone in 2 years. Stuff will be off to Goodwill and they'll buy new stuff, right? Buildings are not like that. So I think, I do believe construction does shape society. Society does not shape construction. And I think sometimes we forget that. And I think that's my biggest challenge is remember why we're doing it. It's not to build buildings. We're building society.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, that's a perfect way to end it. KP, thank you so much for joining us today. Your clickbait worked. We nibbled at it. Good use of well thought out clickbait. We're really glad that you could join us today.
Absolutely. It's fun being here.
And for those of you who are watching, you can download the Future State of Construction report. We'll share some links below. And if anything that you heard here today resonated with you, please subscribe, share, comment on the videos. Let us know what you think, what your vision of the future state of construction is. And we'll keep bringing you the stories of leaders who are shaping the future. Thank you.